Welcome to the Strategic Management Accounting course, where we teach the value-adding steps and processes necessary to execute strategy. Whether you are just starting up or looking to grow your business, then this course is for you. With your host, Dr. Neil O'Connor.
Example of measures that were made and decisions that were made associated with on-time decision making. Yes?
The measure you used was actually the market share.
Market share?
Yeah.
Right? And then?
Then another one was the new product launch.
Pardon? And because that market share, that allowed you to make a on-time decision, right? And what was that on-time decision? What was the on-time decision?
The pricing and the product launch.
Pricing or product launch or both?
Say both.
So can you be more specific with the product launch decision? What decision?
To see whether you...
There's no button in the game that talks about a product launch decision. So what decision? There's only 6 decisions. There's, do you put effort in the high power or ease of use? The other decision, pricing. Next one, do you hire consultants? Do you hire sales reps? Do you train or do you invest?
It's the high power one. The high power to the ease of use one.
Okay, so that's a production decision.
Yeah.
Okay, so the on-time decision was production. Okay. All right, production decision. All right, so remember there's only 6 decisions in the game, so let's be specific because I want to give you clarity, but you need to be clarity within whatever the game spec is. All right. Now, what market share of who? Techie market share or GM, right? Of who? Now, sales growth of techie. So now you're saying, oh, now we've got sales growth of techie and sales growth of GM, right? So we've got techie and we've got GM. Really? One or the other, okay? All right, so we've got one or the other. So I want to ask you, so now have we got an earlier measure of this? Like this is earlier than this one because this is sort of change. This is more the size of the market. This is change in the market growth. That's always an earlier measure of the market, right? Is there something earlier than sales growth? Probably not. Okay, here's the first thing I want you to take away today is the only measures that are useful are the ones that help you make better decisions in terms of on-time accuracy, all right, obviously value creation there in a generic sense. That's number 1. That's the big takeaway today. Let's just put that down as A. All right. The other big takeaway today is that, well, let's say B. All right, that is early measures are more informative than later measures. Well, let me be clear here. This could be lead indicators and later could be lag. You with me here? The only measures we're going to spend the second half are the ones that help you make better decisions. The other one is early measures are more informative than later measures. Okay? Early measures are more informative than later. So therefore, well, I don't care about that because this one is an earlier measure. You're with me here based on that principle. or the second example I want to get from you is another example associated with the magnitude of decision making. The magnitude. What's that? Who would like to volunteer? On the magnitude. What we need is a measurement example and the decision that was helped by that measurement feedback.
Customer lead time.
Customer lead time. Okay, let's get that in. All right, so we got customer lead time. Okay, then what about customer lead time?
If the lead time keeps increasing, then you will need to hire more service staff and engage in more training.
Right, so you're connecting that with a decision, and what was the decision? To hire sales staff. And I assume there's training, right? Now that measure doesn't tell you about whether you should do one or the other, correct? Class, you with me here? The measure, customer lead time, didn't tell you whether you should hire or train, right? So how do you know whether to do one or the other?
Productivity.
Pardon?
Customer service productivity.
Productivity, okay. So now someone's mentioned productivity. So what about productivity?
Like when it's not green, you increase the training, make it green.
Right, but there's some, okay, all right. There's some things here that are not properly explained in the game, right? Because you weren't told whether you hire or train, right? It's only later then you're told, look, if you want to improve productivity, then you need to do training, right? So there's some assumptions in the game that make it very simplistic, right? So you ran with that, so then you know that we need to do training, right? But assuming that that is real in real life, that training is associated with productivity, then we can say productivity measure can help you, both of you, focus on hiring and training. We're definitely focusing on training, okay? Now, let's follow this is our second takeaway today, right? Remember? So following the second takeaway, earlier measures are more informative than later measures. So what does that mean? Is productivity the earliest measure that we could get? Is there an earlier measure that we can have? Is there an earlier measure? So maybe productivity, customer lead time. So now the big question here is when you're hiring and when you're training, it wasn't a point of whether you train or not or hire or not. So it wasn't an on-time dimension. It was more, how much training do you do, right? Or how many new ones do you hire? Because you hire too many, then that actually went against productivity, right? L again. Over time, the learning is kind of the implicit guesses that you start to turn into assumptions that the measures are not telling you directly, but you see linkages between measures and outcomes. You with me? So you do some training and you realise, that improved our productivity by so much. You with me? And so that linkage is that's what we mean by learning. Okay, because someone asked me earlier, what do you mean by learning? Okay, so that's a good example of the learning that we're talking about. You with me? The L. You start to see linkages between the measurements, and then you make a decision, and then something else happens. All right. So I won't dial it up to 600,000 a training. I'll just dial it down to 400,000 because I can see that I don't need the bigger bang that I got last time. You with me here? So it the learning is that secret feeling of that the connections between what the measures are telling you and the outcome. Learning is all about, it's trying to make you more aware of the system, that hidden thing that you don't see. Okay, so let's just finish there with that. I think this is a good way of taking home the big things from the game. That is, on-time decision making, accurate decision making are 2 dimensions. And you have lots of examples in the game to show you one and not the other. However, it is arguable that you can say that, well, for a decision to have some magnitude, or the how much, you must have made that decision. So therefore, there must be a 2 dimensions thing. It can't be just one and not the other. All right. As soon as you start training, of course, you flick the on-time switch, right? You've decided to train, not to train. Remember that? So you've decided to train this month, not last month. Okay, that's on time. Then the next dimension is, okay, how much training are you doing? You see that? All right. So there's 2 dimensions that you could argue that productivity or customer lead time can lead to. You with me? All right. Whereas the strategy decision, when you flick from one to the other, was just 1 dimension. It's just, when do you switch production? Just when. Okay, it was a dichotomous decision. It's one or the other. You started one app, you started Oracle and you switch over to Microsoft. All right. So in summary, earlier measures are more informative than later measures. So lead measures are more informative than lag measures. They allow you to anticipate the future faster. Number 2, we're going to talk about after the break. Only the measures that help you make better decisions are going to help you with value creation. What do we mean by better decisions? Oh, let's go back to here. Ones help you make on timely decisions, and ones that are more accurate. So that leaves us with our last part, and that is, well, how do you develop measures? How do you develop measures? The M, SMS. Okay.